Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Star in Focus podcast. I'm your host, Deanna Oakes, and I am here with the legendary Catuognos and Varallos, and I'm so excited to have you all here. Thank you very much for joining us. How are you all doing today?
Doing well, thank you.
Doing great.
Good, good, awesome. So Ray, for those of you who don't know, is a lifelong reporter, been in the industry for 50 plus years. Ed Varallo is a speed championship time and time again. Nancy Varallo is the Varallo Group president, owner, and the start of the A to Z project. And George is also, her brother, is our executive director at Star. So we just wanted to give a little brief introduction of all of the people that are joining us today, for those of you who may not know. But I have so many questions for you, but I wanted to start with you, Ray, since you have seen this industry go through so many changes in the 50 plus years that you've been in the industry. Tell me exactly when you started reporting again.
Well, I started way back in 1957. I joined Uncle Sam's Navy, and my first mission was to go to the U.S. Naval War College in Newport, Rhode Island. And there I needed to learn about naval law and all the parts that go with that, and also to be a voice writer by Stenomask. So that was my first endeavor with being a court reporter, 1957.
Wow, that is incredible. I can only imagine being like in the Navy too. That is just so fantastic. So are you strictly a voice writer? Did you do other, trades within reporting?
Well, I did the voice writing during the Navy career. And then when I got out of the Navy, I went to a private school to learn how to become a court reporter by steno machine. So then my career was with the steno machine. And I was in the court reporting business until 5 years ago. So I was kind of an old guard, shall we say, back in those years that all went on across this country. Saw a lot of changes go on in the court reporting industry, met a lot of people, and it was a tremendous career. So
if I tell you that Ray did that until he was 80 years old, am I giving anything away?
that was the age. That was the age. Yeah.
5 years ago.
Wow, that is just so amazing. What a really rewarding career it sounds like. So you went from voice and then you went to the steno machine, and obviously Nancy is a steno writer as well. George, how did you not end up being a writer or reporter?
I actually did. I went to Steno school. Nancy ran a school. You mentioned her A to Z program. She also is the founder of Project Steno. And earlier on in her career, she was doing night school through Catuogno Court Reporting. And I joined her class, and I got my speed up to 140 words a minute. And then a transcription opportunity came along that I got involved with, and it ultimately just exploded into this entire different line of business that we brought into Catuogno Court Reporting called Stentel. Some people might remember Stentel because we franchised it to court reporting firms across the country in the 90s. And so that's why I never finished into steno. I actually wound up doing a career in transcription, but always connected to the Catuogno Court Reporting business.
That's I totally understand if you have another opportunity why you would take it, but that's crazy. I didn't know that you had started steno school. That's really cool. And then what about you, Nancy? Did you ever want to do voice writing, or did you stick with the machine only?
No, I started on the machine. I was in college at the time. My dad had just left the Superior Court and working as a freelancer for someone else, and had just started his own court reporting business when I entered college. So over the first 2 years of college, I was a music major and waiting, to make a living as a piano teacher, maybe, hopefully as a performer. But in those 2 years I was in college, I watched him hiring all these young men and women out of court reporting school, and they were buying houses and they were buying cars. And I thought, I don't know what kind of money I'm going to make as a piano teacher. So on really a moment's notice, I decided to go to steno school, entered in September of 1978. And in April of 1979, I had passed my 225 and was out taking jobs. So it's about 6.5 months of school. I think I have the world record for steno school from 0 to 225. But, I think my piano background, growing up listening to my father dictate his steno notes to his typist, I was familiar with the cadence of court reporting and loved it from the time I was a child. So although I didn't think about a career right out of high school, I wish I had, but I had 2 years of college and then 6 months of court reporting school. So
Sure. Yeah. And then how about you, Ed? Were you affiliated with Catuogno Reporting in any way?
No, Deanna. I come from a family of court reporters. My father, Virgil, was a court reporter. My uncle, two cousins, my brother was in the business. So I went straight from high school into court reporting. Graduated high school on a Friday in June of 1964, and on the following Monday started in my uncle's freelance business. I did that because I was a very timid young man at 17 years of age, and I was certain I was going to fail if I had to go to college. So I needed to find something to do that didn't require college. And well, hey, my father's a court reporter. He can't complain about that. So I went into court reporting, and of course, I discovered I loved it, and it turned out to be a really good choice.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say you've definitely made a mark on the industry for sure. So your father and then Ray, did you guys ever know each other?
No, we did not. No, he was from the Philadelphia area. I was from the Massachusetts area. So I don't believe we ever met.
Okay.
This is before social media, Deanna.
That's fair. That's fair. Understandable. So, Ray, now that I mean, you're a few years removed for sure, but you've spent a long career in the industry. What would you say, in your opinion, is the biggest change you've seen the industry go through?
I think probably the biggest change is going from the pen writers to the steno machine writers. It was a change for the old timers that were used to doing the pen writing. They had held down the court jobs in the superior court or district courts, wherever it might have been, but it was all done by pen and pad. It was different. So when we came in with the steno machine, it was like the new type of working product and machine. And it was probably a little bit upsetting to them. But, you know, as we fast forward till today you got the three different methods. You know, you've got the digital reporting, which I still kind of like to give it a shot because it's kind of an exciting thing, I think. So you have the steno mask, you know, you have the steno machine, you have the digital reporting today, and they're all excellent. They're all precision technologies. They're all great products. And I guess what we're here for today is how do we bring all these people together so they have strength with the numbers? There's a whole lot of strength when you have all these three groups together. No better method. They're all equally excellent. But anyways, that was the change going back to when I first started, from going from the pencil or the pen and the notebook to a new machine. And then eventually, you know, these other products came along, but they're all excellent products.
Yeah.
The stenomasts are still being used in the military courts. So that's never gone away. And there's more and more stenomast operators, which is great. I'm glad to see them out there. There's more and more people going into the digital reporting. So all three of these different methods are excellent. So hopefully people understand that, come together and really bolster up each other for more strength or star or whatever organizations they join.
Yeah, I'm gonna just piggyback on that comment. So Nancy and I have been deeply involved in Project Steno. Nancy started that probably 6-7 years ago. And, you know, we've grown significantly. We've been processing well over 100 people a month through the program, and a lot more than that in terms of people that are actually inquiring. So, you know, the whole goal is get oriented to this profession, and that's the particular method that one's geared toward. But as hard as we try, you know, there's still more people retiring than there are coming in that way. So I think what Ray's just said is really important, that we have to embrace all these methods. I know we talk about this a lot in our industry. I'm a little confused what the real fear is or what the real trepidation is with people. I'd love to be able to talk to people that, you know, have those concerns so that we have a chance to bring them out. And so our Unity Summit conference coming up is really designed to be able to do that. But you know, there's room for everybody. There's a different kind of a role for everybody, and there's a need for everybody. And the key is really creating the standards that bring service excellence to the level professionalism that, is mandated for our industry, and everybody's capable of doing that. But it's not going to happen if we sit on the sidelines and just shun or push away other methods and say, no, 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 only our method is the one that is valid or is professional or can be that great. You have to take the best of each method and find ways to make them better, and know that there's room for everybody in the sandbox.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And I know me personally, I just learned right now that the United States military was using voice writers, back in the 50s. So I feel like that has so much weight. I don't know that people realize that it's been around for so long, and that they use voice writers. They still do. I think that's very interesting.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people have,
Yeah, well, it's whatever method it is out of the three methods. Our goal and what we all are in there for is the making of the record. That's our goal. That's our mission, no matter what method you use. So back then it was the steno mask, and then way back before that was the pen and pad, and then it was the steno mask, and then it was the steno machine, and now it's the digital. Everything keeps moving forward, but there's room for everybody. We need everybody together, and we need tens of thousands more to help us to service the industry that's out there. And again, that industry is making the record, whatever you're making the record of. We need everybody.
Yes, absolutely.
Deanna, I was going to add my 2 cents worth to that, if I may.
Please
Enjoyed
do.
your question about why is there such opposition sometimes to recognizing all modes of making the record. And I think it's simply the human fear of change. Look at today, self-driving vehicles, autonomous driving vehicles are on the drawing boards, and they're in some of our cities. I wonder how many people in the country who drive a car think, I will never trust a self-driving car. That might be the predominant opinion today. I wonder what the opinion will be 20 years from now about self-driving cars.
Sure.
I want to go back because even though, Ray, my wife's father is here, and he's been in the field longer than I am, I'm still wicked old enough to remember that when I went to work for my uncle in the 1960s, he'd been a reporter since the 1930s, a stenographic reporter. And he told me about the resistance to stenographic reporters on the part of all the Pittman writers and Gregg writers. In fact, the National Association tried to prevent stenotypists from being members of their association because stenotypists weren't pen writers. Well, that changed. When voice came along, digital and voice writing came along, our organization of stenographers tried to avoid, and still avoids, having those methods of making the record in our association. Whether or not that was a valid opinion 30 years ago when stenographers were the top dog in making the record, it's not a valid position anymore. And for your organization, STAR, and going forward into the future, since that's the only place we can go, we need to be unified.
Yeah.
And we need to pool our talents. We all have the same interest, which is satisfying our clients. There are not enough stenographic reporters to satisfy our clients now or going forward, so we have to have some other means of making the record. And if they can do the job, which they have demonstrated they can, they should be welcome. And all of us will benefit from working together, joining an organization like STAR, finding out what best practices are, what the new technology is, how to use the technology, how to incorporate it into your own work life so that we all have what we want, which is a good career, a good income, and satisfying our clients. Being together is the way to do it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. We are stronger together for sure. And like you said, as long as we have that end goal in mind. Yeah. What were you going to say, Nancy?
Ed brought up the perspective of fear, and I was thinking back on my entire career. There were key times in my stenographic career where fear really took hold. I remember when CAT first came out, people were very afraid of the computer system. We had dictated or typed our notes for so long. They were afraid of that. Draft transcripts, putting out draft transcripts. There was a huge amount of discussion back at the time
You mean a rough
around
draft?
Yeah, rough drafts.
Okay, okay.
And sending out a transcript that wasn't final was heretical, And
Yeah.
how do we protect litigants and all of that? When videographers came on the scene, they're going to take over our jobs. When digital recording devices came on, they're going to take over our jobs. There's been so many times along the way where we have been afraid and fear has taken hold of us. And guess what? We've survived. We continue to survive. There's continued demand for stenographers, for voice writers. Many state associations are welcoming voice writers to their ranks now because they understand they can't be stenocentric in today's world. There just aren't enough. I've worked very, very hard between the A to Z program and the basic training program for Project Steno. Have given and given and given, along with a very talented board and advisory council. We've had this past year in 2024, we had 4,000 inquiries at Project Steno about stenographic reporting and the profession in general. And I think back about all the work that's been done, and I think about the discussions of even 25 years ago that we need to have a joint association where we focus on who's making the record. We make sure the professional in the room is trained, honest, has integrity, can do their job, protect our litigants, protect our judicial system. And I think if we had just done this Unity Summit 25 years ago, where would we be today?
Yeah.
I think fear is a real thing.
Yeah, I think so too. And I'll tell you from the medical transcription industry, voice recognition came into that industry back in the early 2000s. And the industry, we had 800 members in our association. These are company owners of medical transcription companies. That shrunk down to 100 company owners inside of a span of 4 or 5 years. And I think a lot of it was because people were not in front of the technology. They were victims of what the technology did because they didn't take control of their future. They didn't come together and plan. They didn't come together and set standards and manage what was happening, so that they became victims of that. So, I would say the same thing here. If you just let the future unfold without any involvement or engagement or directing or setting standards, you're going to have problems. So it doesn't pay to just sit around. It's like politics. You're going to be just squeaking way over on one side or the other and not focusing in on trying to solve problems. That's not going to be constructive in the end.
Right, right. And that's a very valid point. And if we could band together all of the people in the industry, we would have such a more powerful voice in proposing changes to legislation or whatever, what we wanted to happen as industry professionals. We would be so much more significant and make so much more productive changes, I feel like. And I don't know that we're going to solve that today, folks, but I do enjoy hearing like-minded people be welcoming of everybody that really just wants to be a certified professional and engaging in this very noble profession. Do you have any words of wisdom that you think maybe, we could share at Unity Summit? Let's start with you, Ray, the oldest in the room here.
Oh, words of wisdom. Well, unity, if people can think more about unity rather than about their own particular method of doing the court reporting, we're all in this together, whether it's the steno machine or the digital reporting or the stenomask, doesn't matter. They're just tools. They're a method of getting there. But there is strength in numbers. I hope everybody turns out, for the Unity Summit. It's important that they be there, not just to help themselves and their families. It's also, there's hidden value to go into these conventions and these, like a Unity Summit. And that hidden value is the camaraderie that comes out, the people that you meet. There are friendships that I made in the court reporting industry and these conventions that I've gone to that are lifelong friends that you can always rely on. It's like a brotherhood. It's like my Navy friends. Once you're in it together, you're in it together. So it doesn't matter the method. The idea is being together for strength and making yourself a better person by meeting other people, as well as making your profession better by learning more.
I love that. Very well said. What about you, Ed? What do you think? Any words of wisdom?
Well, first, these all have been words of wisdom, Deanna.
That's fair. Everything you say, Ed, is very wise.
These all, that's what we're
Especially
here.
Ed.
Yeah.
He is
So,
a six-time national speed champion. So, I
yes.
mean, he does have a little clout behind what he says.
Okay.
He has
So
almost
I
as
think
many trophies as Tom Brady has rings, right?
That's right.
Ooh, that's
Thank
very
you.
cool.
Thank you. So I think my words of wisdom are that I've been around long enough. My court reporting career was 56 years in length to see how court reporting has changed. And the trend has been more and more technology coming into the field. So if you are a court reporter today, no matter what system you use, your future is going to be directed by what new technology comes along. So you need to belong to an organization which is going to tell you what is the new technology. And you don't want to segregate yourself off into only I'm a digital reporter, so I'm just going to be in a digital association, because then you're not going to know what the other people have. And you're not going to be able to take advantage of technology they have. You may not
Right.
know what you need to compete with. So you need to know what everybody is doing. And the technology, I think, is the kind of technology that is going to benefit everybody, not just one person who uses a particular system. So all of those systems are going to benefit from the technology that we're going to have in the next few years. And guess what? Nobody knows what that is. So you need to be in an association whose job it is to make sure they're on top of that technology and they present it to you from knowledgeable people who can tell you how to use it and what it is.
Yeah,
So technology is going to drive the future the way it has in the recent future.
for sure. And I mean, it's designed to help us, right? I mean, it's every new invention comes out of some kind of necessity or luxury, right? So, I mean, that's the way I look at it is it's just something to help us. But what about you, Nancy? Do you have anything that maybe you want to shed to some of the new professionals or students?
Sure. I think open-mindedness is probably the key thing, and lifelong learning. And if you combine open-mindedness with lifelong learning, come to these conferences. This is your profession. This is your career. It's not just a job. You're not going to be here for 6 months and then leave. This is a profession. Much like medical practitioners, I want them to know everything they need to know about my particular problem if I'm going to allow them to operate on me. Whether they're going to operate, the old-fashioned way using a scalpel or they're going to use the new robotics way, I'm going to be happier with robotics. I'm going to have fewer scars on my shoulder after surgery. But I want my medical professionals to know everything about their business. I think court reporters, no matter your method, do yourselves a favor and learn everything about this industry, everything about your profession. Rub shoulders with people, as my dad said, make lifelong friends, um, open-mindedness, learn everything you can directly from the source, not hearsay, not third-party discussion, but really in the trenches, learning from each other. And you will just be so happy forever in this career. I've been at it since 1979. I still love it. I'm not ready to retire. Ed and Dad, you guys go have your fun. I'm still in the trenches.
That is so commendable. And you have done so much for the industry. I mean, just in the short time I've known you, you've had just, I don't know, a magnanimous sort of aura, that's just very giving for the industry. And we're very happy to have you and do not want you to leave. So we will keep you here as long as you want to be here.
Thank you. And I've said to so many people who have been so kind and thanked me for my contributions over the years as president of national and president of my state and Project Steno and all the things I've done. So many people are so nice to say thank you. And what my always response is, it's easy when you do it for something you love. And I love my profession.
That's amazing. It's really, yeah, telling for sure. George, do you have any tidbits that you want to share for maybe the new reporters or even students, wisdom to help guide us during this time?
Yeah, I mean, I think the three of them summed up some of the most important things, and I really loved what each of them had to say. When you look around this little group of people here, this family, we have about 200 years of experience combined in the business. Ray was a lifelong successful entrepreneur, built an incredible business all across New England. Nancy, past president of NCRA, has been involved in so many things for the industry, it's just been unbelievable. Ed, I already mentioned his speed contest, and he's just been, the exceptional reporter that everybody recognizes and respects. And so when you hear from this group of people that there's always a way forward, and the strongest way is by uniting and coming together and supporting what we're doing. The value of coming to a conference and the camaraderie and rubbing elbows with people. The energy from last year's conference in San Diego was so strong. I mean, it was unbelievable. The people were so excited and so grateful that we had put this kind of a conference on. And now here we are, just moving to that next level. And a year later, bringing AAERT. We've got a bunch of other trade groups that are also coming in to represent. We're doing some things that are just building. They're building blocks. And so, yes, get involved, participate. AI, for example, is on the horizon. We're not going to avoid AI. It's going to be a part of our lives. So we have to find a way to get in front of it, adapt it, use it, and have it benefit our industry. And that's the name of the game. So that's what I have to say for students. There are so many pathways through this business. There are so many opportunities and so many nooks and crannies of the court reporting profession. Don't be discouraged by any fear. Just keep coming, because there's a need. And there will be a need for a long time to come.
Absolutely. Yes. Got to keep the wheels of justice turning, as they say.
Nice.
So I hate to cut this short, but I promised Nancy I was not going to go over a half an hour, although I would really love to talk with you guys for the rest of the day. But I appreciate your time so very much. You have given us a lot to think about and a lot of encouragement. I mean, this has been really exciting and rejuvenating. It's nice to hear from people who have seen a lot happen that they still love the profession and they still have so much to give and to appreciate. And it's just been really lovely to talk with all of you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deanna.
Absolutely. And thank you all for joining us. We hope to see you at Unity Summit in May. Have a wonderful
We will all be there. All of us.
Thank you, Deanna.
Of course. Okay,
Thank
you're
you.
all coming?
Yes, we're all coming.
That's so exciting. Okay, great.